Hey guys, how are you? I hope you are doing well. I am so excited for today's video. I am collaborating with my sweet crafting friends, Tracy from Country Charm by Tracy and Linda from Linda's DIY by Design. I know you guys love when the three of us team up for our seasonal collabs, and today is the day for our fall collaboration, and I cannot wait for you guys to see what they have come up with. I absolutely adore them. They are amazing crafters. They inspire me so much with their amazing ideas. I've been following them for years, and it is such a blessing to be collaborating with them for the last few years too. We have so much fun doing it. I know you guys love when the three of us team up, so I cannot wait for you guys to see what they have come up with in their videos today. So I'm going to link the playlist in this video description, so after you watch this video you can check out what they have, and then you can also make sure you comment and say hello and let them know that I sent you, because they are just amazing crafters, and I know if you have not seen any of their videos before, you are going to absolutely love what they make and do and just inspire you with such amazing crafting ideas. So I can't wait for you guys to check out their videos as well. And again, I will link that playlist in this video description. One of my favorite things about fall is fall baking, the breads, the cookies, and pies. Oh my, I absolutely love it. But I also love to make faux pies and cookies and all of the faux foods too. If you've been following me for a while, I've done so many different faux pies throughout the years. I've done pumpkin, I've done apple, I've done all kinds of faux breads and faux muffins. I love it. So I'll link what I can in the video description, so if you want to check out some of those too. So today I'm going to be sharing some faux fall food ideas that are so fun and easy to make and look so cute tucked in a basket, to place on a tier tray or on a shelf, to style in your kitchen. So I cannot wait for you guys to see these ideas. So grab yourself a pumpkin spice latte and let's get started. Kicking off today's video, I'm going to be making faux rustic jack-o'-lantern cookies. I am sure you have seen these online. I have been wanting some, so I decided just to make them myself. I'm starting with a package of this Crayola Model Magic clay. You can get it at Hobby Lobby, any craft store, or online. I will link some in the video description. One package of this, I was able to make 4 cookies. And then the pumpkin cutout I am using is from Hobby Lobby. The one I have is a few years old, but they still have it this year too. And then I'm rolling it out. You could just use a rolling pin, but I'm using this fondant rolling pin that I got in the baking section at Hobby Lobby too. I've had it, so I just like to use it for projects like this. Rolling it out so it's about 1/4 inch thin, and then cutting out my pumpkin cutouts just like this. Now, I was not able to find a jack-o'-lantern cookie cutter, so what I ended up doing is making my own stencil and cutting out the pumpkin face. But first I'm going to cut out all of my cookies. Now, one package of the Model Magic clay, I was able to make 4 cookies, so I ended up using 2 packages of the Model Magic, just to give you an idea of how many packages you need depending on how many cookies you want. So I like to do things in odd numbers, so if you want like 3, you would just need 1 package. And then with the leftover clay, I just had a littler pumpkin cutouts that I ended up making some smaller pumpkin cookies just to add to my collection. So I made this stencil with my Cricut. You could just freehand it, draw it too, but I just made a little stencil, just made it easier, and then also made it more uniform for each of my cookies too. And I would just use my paring knife. That's what I found easiest to cut out the little pumpkin face. You could use a box cutter too, whatever works best. And I'm just going through and cutting out all of my faces. Like I mentioned before, I'm making 8 cookies, so I cut out 8 faces, setting those aside, and now I'm going to make the filling. So on the pumpkins that I didn't cut out a face, I have this folk art paint in the color Cinnamon. It's my absolute favorite pumpkin color. It's just, I think, the perfect pumpkin color. And I'm adding a generous amount on the inside. This is going to be like the filling that you see popping through the face on the cookie. So you can see I'm just adding a nice generous amount, and then I'm going to place the face on top of that, and then I'm going to set these aside to dry. I'm also going to take a fork and go around the edges to kind of crimping it like a Pop-Tart, so to speak, to give it that crinkled look. So there I am, just placing the faces on top and then taking a fork to crimp the edges, around the edges, and then I'm going to set these aside to dry. These definitely take a few days to dry before I go ahead and paint them. And when I added the quote-unquote filling, I didn't go right to the edges you saw. So I just kind of added on the inside. Now, when you add the face, if you realize that, you see some of the white popping through on like the eyes or the mouth, you can just take your little paintbrush and add some more paint there. But the paint is still wet when I'm adding it to, because it's not going to really move around. And I'm just setting the face on top of it, as you see there. And then I'm going to go around with my fork to crimp it in, and it just gives it a really nice detailed look. And let me know in the comments, have you made these, or have you wanted some of these, or have you bought some like this before? I would love to know. I knew since probably last fall I wanted to make these. These have been on my craft list, so I was really eager and excited to make them. And then with the small little cookies that I made with the leftover clay, I'm just using the little fork and going around those cookies too. So now I'm going to take these and set them aside to dry. There are the cookie cutouts that are at Hobby Lobby this year. I saw them there, so if you wanted to get them. Now for the glaze on top, I am taking some of my Mod Podge and sprinkling in just very, very lightly a little bit of instant coffee. And when I'm taking it in my fingers, I'm kind of breaking it up so it's not so coarse. I want it nice and fine. And then blending it into my Mod Podge, and that's going to create that nice color. And if you add too much, you can add a little bit more Mod Podge. If it's not dark enough, you can add a little bit more of the instant coffee. And then once I get the color I like, I'm going to paint it on top of my cookies. I'm doing the back first, setting that aside to dry, and then flipping it over and doing the front. So frosting my cookies, so to speak, or adding the glaze. And then I'm dusting it with cinnamon, and that will soak into the wet Mod Podge. So I'm dusting it there on top of that wet Mod Podge mixture with that instant coffee. And there it is. How darling are these? And then I set those aside to dry. So I'm just going to go around all of the cookies I made, adding that Mod Podge mixture, that is that tinted Mod Podge, and then dusting it with that cinnamon. That's it. That's what I'm using to make them look like they are baked cookies. And how cute are those? Once they are dry, you can style these however you want. I'm just putting them on this wooden tray. I'm so happy with the way these turn out. I love them. So if you've been wanting some of these, definitely make them. They're so fun to make and so cute for your fall decor. I don't think it would be a fall crafting season for me if I didn't make a version of my mini pies. I love making these. I've shared so many different variations throughout the years, and this year's version is a fall felt pie. I've never made any with felt before, at least I don't think. So I have these little mini aluminum pie pans that you can get a stack of them at Hobby Lobby in the cake decorating section, and they often go on sale too. Adding hot glue to the bottom and around the edge of that, and then while that hot glue is still wet, I'm adding some stuffing from an old pillow, or you can buy stuffing at the craft store. And then I have some felt. This particular felt is from Michael's. It's just a cream color felt, or you could use like a white felt too. Tracing around the edge of the pie dish. And then when I cut it out, I'm actually going to go about 1/2 inch to 1 inch over that edge, because I want to have some extra. So when I attach this to the top, it hangs over nicely, and then I'll trim off that excess. So what I'm going to do to prevent any injuries too, you could go around the edge of the pie dish and add the hot glue. I've done that before, but it's also just very easy to just use that line that you drew and add that hot glue, and then add the pie dish on top of that, and then trim off that excess felt. And that is the topping of the pie. Once I have that trimmed off, now I'm going to paint the felt, because like I mentioned before, I love that cinnamon color for pumpkin. It's a folk art color cinnamon. You can get it at the craft store. And I'm going to add a coat of paint on top of the felt, so I have that perfect pumpkin color. Once I added that coat of paint, I took it to my dryer, and there it is, nice and dry, that perfect pumpkin color. And now I'm going to make a felt crust. So I'm just cutting out some strips The strips that I have are 2 inches, and that is what I'm going to use to add around the edge of the pie to make the crust. Now what I'm doing is I'm folding it. So this is a little different from some of the pies that I've made before where I kind of do that ruffled edge, that pleated edge, which I'll be doing on another one. So I just take it, fold that in half, and this just gives it a nice clean edge. So you'll see another pie coming up too where I do a little bit of a different edge. You could do either one, but I just folded it over and hot glued that, and that's how it looks. And now I'm going to go around and attach the crust. So I work in little small sections, add a ribbon of hot glue on that edge, and then I'm pleating it with my finger. So I add a little bit, and then I just fold a little bit over, and that creates like a pleat. And I continue doing that until I run out of felt. And then when I get to the end of the felt, I just add that. And then as I add the new piece, I kind of fold that piece over so it already looks like it's crimped and pleated. So you can see there, I just folded a little bit over. And then again, a little bit of hot glue, and then attaching it, and then pleating it, just taking a little bit and pleating it, and just going around until I get to the other side, and then I pleat that end too. So you can see I take it and just pleat it over, and that's what creates the really cute crust. So I just take my time doing this, working in a small section, adding a little ribbon of hot glue around the edge, and then pleating it with my fingers, and then continue doing that until I get to the end. And then I make sure I pleat that other end too and kind of tuck it in at the beginning so it looks nice and seamless all the way around. And again, once I get to the edge, I kind of tuck it into the first pleat, add a little dot of hot glue to secure that. And again, that makes it look nice and seamless all the way around. And then I'm going to take some of my Distress Oxide in the color Vintage Photo to distress that crust a little bit to make it look a little bit more baked. I also like to turn it around and add a little bit of hot glue on the bottom too, just so it's nice and secure. There it is, all done. And there's that Distress Oxide. I'm just using a brush and gently going around the edge of the crust just to give it more of a distressed baked look. Next, I'm going to add a little dollop of whipped cream in the center of the pie, again using some felt. So I have some white felt, and I'm just cutting out a strip, and then I'm making almost like a little rose or rolling it up to kind of create a faux whipped topping. So I just kind of wrap it around and almost like making like it looks like a little rose there, and just kind of rolling it over until I get around, and then securing that little piece at the end. And then you can trim it off a little bit too, and then just hot gluing that to the center to look like a dollop of whipped cream. And then I'm making a little tag with my clickable stamps, and I'm just using the word pumpkin, and I have a piece of torn muslin that I'm stamping it on. I'm going to distress this tag as well using that Distress Oxide in the color Vintage Photo, just going around. Then I'm going to place it on my pumpkin, and then I'm using a little bit of dried Sweet Annie I thought was really cute on this, and hot gluing it to my pumpkin along with the Rusty Bell. Look at how cute these mini felt pumpkin pies turned out. I absolutely love these. But now it's time to make a lettuce version. This is going to be like an apple pie version, but just general pie with a lattice too. So I couldn't resist doing this. So I have this felt. This is also from Michael's. Doing the same thing as I did with the pumpkin pie. I'm tracing around the edge, cutting it out, going a little over, then adding some stuffing to the little mini pie dish with some hot glue, and then adding some hot glue around that traced edge, and then adding my little pie dish on top of that and trimming off the excess. That's going to create the base of this lattice pie. Now I don't need to paint it because I like the color of this felt. And now I'm going to be making the lattice. So I have this felt. It's a cream color felt, also from Michael's, and I'm cutting 1/2 inch strips. I'm also cutting my crust strips, which are 3/4 inches. You could do an inch too, 3/4 inch or an inch. And now I'm distressing my lattice pieces first, as well as my crust. I'm using that Distress Oxide Color Vintage Photo, just adding a little bit on top of that. And then I'm going to add my lattice. So I like to have a little overhang there. So when I hot glue it, I have that, and then I'll just trim it off once I add my lattice. So I'm just weaving it through, and then I'm going to attach it with hot glue. Once the lattice is attached, I'm going to trim off that excess, and then I'm going to attach the crust the same way as I did with the pumpkin one, but I'm going to distress the crust pieces first with the Distress Oxide in the color Vintage Photo. So just adding just a light coat on that, just to give it more of a baked rustic look. And then going around the edge same way, but with these pieces I didn't fold over. This is just one single piece. On the pumpkin one, I folded it over. So that's why I mentioned in the pumpkin one, you can decide on what kind of crust you want to do. This is just a cut version, but the same way with pleating around the edge. So just adding a ribbon of hot glue, working in just a small section, and then pleating it with my finger. So as I go around, I pleat it. And then when I get to the end and I'm attaching another piece, I kind of pleat that piece first, just wrapping it under a little bit and then tucking it into the previous pleat so it looks nice and seamless, going around the edge of that and then attaching it to the other end once I get to the end there. And then just adding a little bit more Distress Oxide to the little peaks and around the edges too. And then for this one, I'm not going to do any little tag, but I have some dried sweet Annie that I'm going to put to the center of it along with the bell. But I realized when I opened my big container of all my dried sweet Annie, I get asked about my dried sweet Annie all the time. I have like 3 different versions, and they're all of different color variations. One's green, one's a different like lighter green. Than this one is more of like the perfect one for fall. So I ended up attaching that to the center of the lattice pies along with the little rusty bell that I had. But then I decided to change out the dried sweet Annie that I originally attached to the pumpkin pies because I love the color of this one. It's just perfect for fall. It's more of a muted color. So I just took these to my heat gun and that easily took off the hot glue. And then I'm reattaching my little pumpkin tag and then adding this dried sweet Annie along with the rusty bell. And this is my stash of all of the dried sweet Annie I have, different variations of color. I have some other dried florals in there too. But here are the little felt pies. These are so cute and so fun to make for fall. And don't forget, there is even more fall crafting inspo you do not want to miss over on Linda's and Tracy's channel. You can check out the playlist here in the video description so you can watch those amazing videos too. So Gumball's going to tell you about the next craft, right, baby? No, but he's definitely a helper. He's definitely going to help out. So the next craft I'm going to be making. So I've shared the faux breads and muffins before with you. I'll link that video in the video description that's using the spray foam. Well, maybe you want to make some faux breads for your home, but that was Gumball getting down. But you don't want to use the spray foam. Well, I have a solution for you. I found these faux breads at Hobby Lobby. They're only $2.49. And I like these a little bit more. You can find them on Amazon or order them online, but they can, add up $20 for some faux breads, where these are $2.49. So if you want to do a little basket with like 3 of them, then it's, a little bit more cost effective. But, they just look like faux breads. And I want to give them more of that rustic, primitive look like I do with my faux bread. So we're going to take these and turn these into some really cute Rustic Faux breads. I'm gonna set the mood with this yummy pumpkin bread candle. It smells so good. I will actually link this as well as a coupon code in this video description. I love these candles. You probably saw them burning throughout this video to different scents because I love these in my home. So now back to the breads. What I'm going to be using is some Mod Podge, and for this one I'm using that cinnamon color, that folk art cinnamon. You guys, it's the best color for pumpkin, and I'm stirring some of that paint into the Mod Podge because I'm creating a glaze, and that's really going to cover these breads. When I've made the faux breads using the foam spray, I would create this glaze to put on top of those. So using these pre-made loaves saves that step of having to use the foam spray making those loaves. So I just took that Mod Podge and that paint and drizzled it on top of the loaf, and then I took some instant coffee, and then I'm also using some oatmeal on top of it too, and sprinkling it with some cinnamon as well to create that rustic topping. For this one, I'm just using Mod Podge and sprinkling in some of that instant coffee. And then just like I did on the pumpkin cookies, and drizzling that on top, that hides a lot of the loaf and then just creates a really nice baked look. And I've seen similar ones at like the Prim shops I've been to, and other shops I've seen these kind of like sitting out in the different vignettes and displays. And this topping creates that texture to make it look more realistic. So there are all of my loaves. I'm going to set them aside to dry. And then once they are dry, I'm actually just doing one loaf. I have a little piece of torn cheesecloth using a few cinnamon sticks and some dried sweet Annie again. Inspired by, like I said, I've seen these like little loaves at different primitive shops that I've been to before. And I thought they were so cute in the displays, and how fun to make these loaves to use in your home too. So I'm just using, you could do these on all the loaves. I just decided to do it on one. And then I'm just taking the 3 loaves. That's why I like to work in odd numbers. I have a wooden bowl and I'm going to place them in. And then I'll place the one with the cheesecloth and cinnamon stick kind of in front. And I just love this little grouping. If you like these little faux breads, this is just a fun and easy project and a great way to make over those little loaves from Hobby Lobby. Okay guys, that is all for today's video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you had fun. I hope you got some inspo as well. And again, don't forget to check out Tracy and Linda's videos. I'm gonna link everything in this video description so you can head over there, check them out. Remember, comment, say hello, and let them know that I sent you. You can also follow me on social media at Mother Time. You can check out my blog, mothertime.com. And if you've enjoyed this video and you are not subscribed to my channel yet, don't forget to click that subscribe button so you never miss any of these videos. Thanks again, guys, for hanging out with me today. I'll see you guys very soon in the next video. Bye, guys.